For decades, the world has attempted to gauge the scale of China's nuclear capabilities. Unlike some other global powers, Beijing has never publicly released the number of nuclear weapons it possesses. As a result, much of what is known comes from estimates by governments, analysts, and leaked reports. The widely circulated figure of 350 nuclear warheads is itself speculative. More recent assessments suggest that number has already been surpassed, raising questions about China's intentions, strategic goals, and the future of global nuclear deterrence. The U.S. Department of Defense estimated in 2023 that China may now possess over 500 operational nuclear warheads, an increase that would place it well above the 400-plus warhead mark reported in some unofficial sources. Despite this, China still remains far behind Russia's estimated 6,200 and the United States' 5,400 warheads. However, sheer numbers only tell part of the story. In the modern age of nuclear deterrence, the most relevant factor is not how many warheads a nation holds, but how many it can actually deploy and deliver in a real-world scenario. That's where missile systems come into play. In particular, China's rapidly expanding arsenal of ballistic missiles, both land and sea-based, has become a focus of international scrutiny. During China's 2019 National Day military parade, several classes of strategic missile systems were publicly displayed, providing rare insight into the country's launch capabilities. 5 types of nuclear-capable ballistic missiles were showcased: the Dongfeng 26, Zhilong 2, Dongfeng 31, Dongfeng 5 and Dongfeng 41. Collectively, these platforms suggest an operational strategy centered on fast, flexible, and survivable nuclear deterrence. Let's break this down by system. Dongfeng 26, DF-26. This is a road-mobile, intermediate to long-range ballistic missile. 16 of these missiles were featured in the parade. Each can carry up to 3 independently targetable re-entry vehicles, MIRVs, each with a relatively small nuclear yield. Zhilong 2 JL-2, a submarine-launched ballistic missile, SLBM. The JL-2 offers sea-based nuclear strike capability, a core element of China's evolving nuclear triad. 16 were displayed, with the ability to carry 1 high-yield warhead, over 1 megaton, 3 MIRVs, each 250 kilotons, or up to 7 lower-yield warheads, 60 kilotons each. Dongfeng 31, DF-31. This land-based intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, is nuclear exclusive. 16 were shown, and each can carry either a single warhead, 1 megaton, or 3 MIRVs, 150 kilotons each. Dongfeng 5, DF-5. This silo-based ICBM has the greatest payload among China's deployed missiles. 4 were presented during the parade. It is capable of delivering a single warhead, 4 megatons, 6 MIRVs, 250 kilotons, or 10 MIRVs, 150 kilotons. Dongfeng 41, DF-41. China's most advanced ICBM, the DF-41 can be road mobile and has global strike range. 16 were exhibited. It supports 1 warhead, 700 kilotons, 4 MIRVs, 170 kilotons, or 10 MIRVs, 100 kilotons or less. Even a conservative estimate based on the number of missiles publicly shown in the parade suggests China could possess at least 408 warheads, depending on warhead configurations per missile. That number already exceeds the earlier 350 warhead estimate frequently cited by analysts. And this estimate excludes any warheads held in reserve, under development, or deployed in undisclosed missile units. Importantly, these numbers only reflect what was made public in 2019. In the 5 years since, the People's Liberation Army, PLA, has significantly expanded missile production and deployment infrastructure. Notably, satellite imagery and defense reports have pointed to new missile silo construction across remote areas of China, particularly in the Gobi Desert. These silo fields could potentially house hundreds of additional ICBMs in the future. Furthermore, the U.S. Department of Defense noted in its 2023 report on China's military capabilities that China now possesses more ICBM launchers, both silo-based and mobile, than Russia. U.S. Strategic Command echoed this concern by stating that China may already have more ICBM-mounted nuclear warheads ready for immediate launch than the United States. The implication is clear. While China's total warhead count remains lower, its operational readiness is increasing rapidly. These developments are altering the strategic calculus. China has long maintained a minimum deterrence posture, emphasizing a relatively small but survivable second strike capability. Its official no-first-use policy underscores this approach. However, the steady increase in warhead stockpiles, the build-out of new missile fields, and improvements in mobile delivery systems suggest a more robust deterrence framework is being developed, perhaps transitioning toward a credible deterrence model if not a full counterforce posture. What does this mean for global security? First, it's essential to understand the broader context. Of the 224 nations and territories globally, only 9 are known or believed to possess nuclear weapons. Among them, 5 are recognized nuclear weapon states under the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT: China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States. The remaining 4, India, Pakistan, North Korea, and Israel, have developed nuclear capabilities outside the framework of the NPT. Among the 5 recognized states, only 3, the US, Russia, and China, have fully developed nuclear triads, the ability to deliver nuclear weapons via land-based ICBMs, sea-based SLBMs, and air-launched systems. This triad structure significantly enhances survivability and the credibility of a second strike capability. China's strategic approach, then, is shaped by its geopolitical context. Surrounded by nuclear-armed neighbors, many of whom have strategic ties with the United States, China views its nuclear arsenal as an essential guarantor of sovereignty and deterrence. This explains the shift from symbolic deterrence toward an operationally flexible force. There is also a cost to consider. Ballistic missiles, especially intercontinental and submarine-launched variants, are expensive to produce and maintain. A single DF-41 missile can cost tens of millions of dollars. According to various industry assessments, the per-unit cost of China's advanced missile systems could range from $5 million to over $20 million depending on platform, launch system, and guidance technology. Given this, it is unlikely these weapons would be produced without a matching stockpile of nuclear warheads. China's current defense budget, estimated at around 1.7 trillion yuan, approximately $234 billion, reflects a significant long-term investment in strategic systems. But it is still less than half of the U.S. defense budget, which surpassed $800 billion in 2023. This suggests that while China is growing its nuclear force, it is doing so within a limited fiscal scope compared to other major powers. So where does this leave the world? Despite growing inventories, it's important to emphasize that nuclear weapons are not intended for use. They are tools of deterrence, not instruments of daily warfare. This is the central paradox of nuclear strategy. They are most effective when they are never launched. History has made that lesson clear. Since August 1945, when the United States dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, no country has used a nuclear weapon in combat. The doctrine of mutually assured destruction (MAD), coupled with decades of arms control and non-proliferation agreements, has created a framework in which nuclear weapons serve as bargaining chips and strategic threats rather than battlefield assets. The modern nuclear consensus is grim but effective. If one power initiates a nuclear strike, others will respond in kind, resulting in catastrophic mutual destruction. This understanding is what has prevented their use, even during intense geopolitical confrontations like the Cuban Missile Crisis or the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. That said, possessing nuclear weapons remains a critical safeguard in a world where alliances shift and conventional forces can be overwhelmed. China's nuclear modernization is not simply about matching other powers weapon for weapon, but ensuring that it retains the ability to deter threats in an increasingly multipolar security environment. As China continues to upgrade its delivery platforms and expand its missile infrastructure, the global community will need to reassess long-standing assumptions about strategic balance in East Asia and beyond. Ultimately, transparency, diplomacy, and strategic dialogue, especially among the 3 major nuclear powers, will be essential to preventing miscalculation and maintaining peace in the nuclear age.